although they do have adherents who regard them as the truth. But rather, these are just theories that happen to be current and popular amongst intellectuals in the West at this particular moment. And to take them as the truth would be to fall into the trap of regarding them as something of a meta-narrative. And the gender stuff is particularly controversial these days, not so much in the humanities, I think, where it's widely accepted, but beyond the humanities, which does still matter because questions related to biological sex do also involve the sciences. So once again, for our purposes as literary scholars, whether or not we agree with the broader worldview being espoused by the theory in question, we are interested in whether these theoretical approaches can be applied.
You don't hear it, but I do. Inner speech, soundscape in COVID times. Inner speech is a concept we have dealt with a lot in modernist literature. In Mrs. Dalloway, the stream of consciousness style allows us to jump from one character's consciousness to another. In Good Morning Midnight, we are able to follow Sasha's train of thought as she strolls along the streets in Paris. As much as the idea of inner speech is foregrounded in literary text, we do not seem to pay much attention to inner speech in our daily life. How exactly does inner speech work, and how does it contribute to our auditory experience? In Listening and Voice, Phenomenologies of Sound, John Ide proposes that our auditory experience is a polyphonic one rather than monophonic. Aside from being a receiver of the voices of the world, there is a second modality of ongoing experience, which is the imaginative mode. We hear not only the voices of the world, in some sense we hear ourselves, or from ourselves. Ide further draws similarity from our experience of inner speech and the act of listening, as he observes that inner speech does not show itself a word at a time, any more does my voice speaking. It bursts forth in rapid totalities that present themselves as an uneven flow. One does not attend to words as such, but to a larger singing of phrases and sentences. This corresponds with our auditory experience, where the flux and flow of our inner speech mirrors the sense of temporality that belong dramatically to listening. If inner speech is an inherent part to our auditory experience, how, then, do we not notice it most of the time? Ide describes inner speech as active, ongoing in its elusiveness, and it seems to be nowhere or everywhere when noted. The elusiveness mainly arises from the fact that words do not draw attention to themselves, but to the intended things in referring. Thus, in speaking, what is ordinarily focal is what I am talking about, rather than singing of speech as textured auditory appearance. The inner speech is present as background that does not ordinarily call attention to itself. Furthermore, the polyphony of inner and outer voices is not always an equal polyphony. External sounds divide our attention and thus act as resistance for us to recognize our inner speech. Unworded or musical sound only allows a partial polyphony at the fringe, while spoken words act as massive resistance that blocks a full duet of the expressing, speaking self. Thus, when we are placed in a noisy, crowded urban environment, we may not be able to notice the speech within ourselves. However, in the COVID times, where we are mostly confined in our own rooms with minimal face-to-face human interaction, our inner speech becomes more prominent in our daily auditory experience as there is less resistance from the external environment. When we stare at our screen watching Zoom lectures, the significant sound of the lecturer's voice may become the background sound, and our inner speech becomes foregrounded, as you have seen in the video at the start. As you are currently watching this video essay, you may also be thinking, should I play with my phone for a while? What should I eat for dinner? All these sound theories are driving me crazy. When Prof is giving us her lecture while noticing the drilling sound in the background, at the back of her mind, she may be thinking, will they ever stop drilling? All in all, being confined in a regular, relatively quieter place with reduced human interaction in real life, our inner thoughts become an increasingly dominant sound in our soundscape nowadays. As Ide summarizes, inner speech as a modal core of imaginative auditory experience echoes the voice of language in the world. Its polyphonous self-presence is in tune with the sounded presence of the world. This self-presence is, in its core modality, no more quiet than the sound of the world. Thus, our inner speech serves as an important way for us to make sense and connect with the world. The familiar and taken for granted character of our inner speech functions to maintain a certain familiarity with the environment. The voice of language domesticates the world. Although inner speech is oftentimes colloquial, random, even nonsensical, you should listen to the words that reside in yourself sometimes. It may surprise you. Thank you for watching.